All right. I guess it's that time. I feel like I've just woken up from a nap.
For the real episode of 118?
For the real episode of 118, in case you missed last week's episode, I did correct myself in the edit. I am your host for all 118 episodes, Rob Penzo. This is the We Are One, You Are Two PlayStation podcast. I am joined by he's living in a new place with a new life, Matt Rhodes.
Hey-o, new life. That's me. What's up, Rob? How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm just waiting for my house to collapse from the carpenter ants. But other than that, I'm fine.
Carpenter ants, yikes. Those are always fun. Big, nasty looking guys.
I saw those babies flying yesterday. I was like, I don't remember the last time I saw ants fly. And then I looked it up and it's like, well, once they've established a colony, they start flying and looking for other spots.
Oh,
and I was like, oh. And then I looked down on the porch and I saw about 10 or 15 of them wandering around like they were just scouting the place. So,
cock of the walk.
Yeah. And then I noticed a bunch of little wood shavings all along the edge of my porch. So they have nestled in somewhere. So I am now living with a colony. I have adopted a colony of ants. In case anyone cares.
That's very kind of you. Especially during this pandemic. It's nice of you to take people in.
I thought I'll take as many in as I can. Just happened to be a couple hundred or maybe even 1,000. I'm not sure because I haven't done a head count yet to make sure everybody's here. I've got to take care of that this week. But how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Living the dream. Just moving to my own place kind of a thing. A lot of life
no
events.
Ants.
A lot of life going on. No, actually, cockroaches.
Okay.
So, which is the first time I've actually dealt with, that issue ever, honestly. So it's a little freaky. I don't have actual cockroaches I haven't seen one in my unit yet, but, I've seen them in the hallway, in the laundry room. And I asked my friend who used to live in the same building if there was any issues. And she was like, no. She's like, I don't remember anything like that. So maybe it was because she was on the third floor and I'm on the ground unit. Who knows? Maybe they're more prevalent down here in the basement area where, it's colder, it's wetter,
Yeah.
And they can thrive more. But, big American-looking guys, like an inch and a half long. I'm like, whew, do not.
Well, it sounds like you might be taking in some residents then, too.
Yeah, exactly. Believe me, I've been cleaning obsessively, making sure that I'm not leaving any food out and all that stuff, making sure I'm not, dropping any food on the floor. I assume, my landlord knows, I'm assuming, I showed him, a dead one that I stepped on between a couple of napkins. So I'm assuming he knows or they know and they're, it's something that they would spray for, obviously. But if not, hopefully. I guess I'll get my own traps or, maybe set my own little homemade remedies.
Yeah, wage your own war.
Yeah, exactly. Someone told me that if you add baking soda, put a little sugar mixed with baking soda out, they'll eat it and they can't digest baking soda, so they explode.
Oh. Well, that's even better. Then you'll have cockroach guts everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, for how big these things are, I don't know if I want them to explode. I mean, I don't know how crazy they explode. I don't know if it's bird and minute rice kind of explosion, but...
Well, maybe you can grow a few and have a Fallout experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Some rad roaches.
Some rad roaches. Yeah. That's literally the last time I dealt with roaches was Fallout.
Well, again, this is a PlayStation podcast, so we'll keep our bugs to ourselves.
We turned it into a bug podcast.
Exactly. If you like what you hear, you can head over to Podbean, Patreon, and YouTube, Spotify, Castbox, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, like, and subscribe to us. I noticed that we had several ratings on iTunes, so I really appreciate that.
Nice.
We've got almost a perfect 5-star rating, so we must be doing something right. So thank you all for whoever took care of that. We appreciate it. Matt, we've got a great show lined up for people. We are going to talk about the games we've been playing. We are going to talk a little bit about the news this week. I also thought we could cover maybe some games we think we will never get to since, there is a new system coming out sometime this year. And we have Last of Us coming out in approximately 13 to 14 days. I think it'll be like 10 by the time this podcast hits. But, I thought we could just touch on some of the games we'll never get to, since clearly that is going to interrupt whatever we're playing right now for that, as I imagine will for most people. I also thought we would take some time today just to address some of our favorite Black characters. Of course, everything's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, which has really erupted in a way globally that I did not expect. It's really incredible to see. And we're not going to talk politics, but we are going to have to. I do thought we could talk a little bit about how it's affecting. We'll talk about that in the news this week, how it has affected or changed several games and game displays and game shows that were going to come out, a showing of games that were going to come out this past week, just to touch on that. And I thought we would do the Black protagonists as our way of kind of honoring, or not protagonists, but characters as our way of kind of honoring Black lives, and not trying to make any kind of statement, rather just to acknowledge that we, understand and sympathize and empathize with everything that's going on right now. We really just want to show our love and our support, and doing so through being able to talk about video games where characters who, although we may not think about it, there are several prominent Black characters who came to mind for me today that I was thinking about this, that I realized were in some of my favorite games. And so we'll talk about that too, I figured as well.
For sure.
I asked for some suggestions today, so I'll read off some of the ones that I got as well too.
Cool.
But first, let's go ahead and talk about what we've been playing first and take care of that. I'll let you start.
As tradition dictates, I will go first. And you know me, Robert, Rocket League, Fortnite, and is that it? Did we play Apex again? I forget.
I don't think we touched Apex this week. I had a rough week in terms of multiplayer games, so I don't think we did.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I did play a little bit of Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. So,
Oh, okay.
Jump back into that for a little bit, played it like one day. I was just like, meh, it's fine again. You know what I mean? But I don't know. With everything going on and the moving and stuff, it's just been like, I've been sticking to either that or watching either the regulars, like which, Rocket League or Fortnite. But even those, I play for a little bit and get bored, and then I'll watch like Big Bang Theory or something like that, because I've been working my way through the seasons of that.
That's a great show.
Yeah, it really is, and it's on like that new HBO Max.
Okay.
I guess if you're a subscriber of HBO already, depending on what service you have, if you have like Comcast or Verizon, they offer HBO Max for free. So I've been logging onto that and just blasting through all the seasons of that. I'm on halfway through season 2, I think, already.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's a really good show. It's funny. It's silly. It's kind of, something to take your mind off things, laugh for a little bit. And, I don't know, just one of those shows that you can watch a lot really quickly too, because for whatever reason, I feel like those shows are just a few minutes shorter than the other shows.
Yeah, because they're only about 22 minutes after commercials and everything.
Yeah, and I think that's relatively standard, but I think even the Big Bang ones are even more 19, 20 minutes.
Oh,
I think because it was such a popular show that they could sell, because it was the number one show, they could sell more commercials basically, so they didn't have to write it,
Interesting.
So yeah, so the episodes are a little bit shorter, so you can knock 3 out in an hour pretty much. So.
All right, yeah. Good television recommendation. I definitely highly enjoy. We catch those episodes on Syndicate, right? Like on CW or something.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We've always enjoyed the ones.
It's got HBO Max. And they got all the seasons, so I'll
have to check that out.
Get through all 12 eventually.
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's a reason it was 12, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, I'll get to them before Last of Us 2 comes out, because once that comes out, that's all good. That's. I'm going to be all consumed by that until I finish it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. As many people will.
Yeah. Well, what have you been playing, Robert?
Well, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play this week. I've played a couple of games, the Rocket League with you. I made a promise to myself that I was going to work on Neo and nothing else this week. And for a while there, I was doing a really bang up job with that, really bang up job. I thought I was doing real good. Then I kind of fell off the wagon with it. And then, I've only had a little bit of time because it was my wedding anniversary this week. And
congratulations, Robert.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, been married a few years now. And so we were working on that and took a beach trip and everything like that. socially distanced beach trip, I guess I should say. But so everything's been kind of crazy in that regard. So the limited time I have had to do stuff, I fired up Sign Mora EX, which is like a side-scrolling shooter.
Okay.
And I played maybe 10, 15 minutes of that. I like it. It's good. It's one of those games, and that's actually what inspired me to come up with a list of ideas of games that I'll probably never get to, because when I was playing it, I was like, oh, this is really, really nice, but I don't have time for this, or I don't know if I'll ever have gotten to would have ever gotten to this. But yeah, so I touched that. Oh, I did touch a little bit of Final Fantasy VII, working my way through that still very slowly. And when I say touch, I think I did 20 minutes and that was it. And then last but not least, you and I interviewed him almost 2 years ago, right? We talked about Dave Stanley that did Skeletak. We interviewed him and Shane from Yakuza Games. I went ahead and purchased it and been playing a little bit of that. It's really freaking hard. I think I died 45 times before I got to the first boss.
Wow.
But it's one of those things that you just die and respawn so quickly that death kind of seems almost irrelevant, other than like a minor annoyance.
Right. Well, because you're already dead, right?
That's true. Yeah, you are a skeleton. But there's so many checkpoints that you die and it doesn't have to load or anything, right? It just dies and it kind of like zooms you back up to where you died or where you checkpointed last.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because of the size of the levels. And so you're not really like losing any progress or any time. You're not waiting on a loading screen. You're not doing anything. You just die, start over, die, start over. So it's kind of like Hot Miami in that way.
Yeah, I like those games.
Yeah, I really like it. It's a little platformer. You know, it's fun. It's definitely worth it. The only bone I have to pick with him, no pun intended, is that it does not have a platinum trophy, but you know.
Oh,
whatever.
Robert, I know.
It's
a shame.
Hurt my soul a little bit.
I have a bone to pick with the PlayStation blog, because it would have been nice to actually announce his game on that last week.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, had they actually put one out. Because there were actually a few games. You know, we thought it was because he was the only game, but there were a couple others that came out this week. Yeah,
we're going to talk about that because I actually have a little bit of a reason why that might have happened. So we'll discuss that here shortly.
Okay.
Speaking of PlayStation blog, I do want to announce that we are keeping count. And so we're off a little bit because of last week, but there are 19 games that came out this week or are coming out this week. And so we are up to 325 total on the PlayStation blog for the year for the PSN network. So Matt, let's go ahead and get into some news before we talk about our topics. All right. So here is the PSN news, Matt. The first one I was really excited about. I sent it to you and you were just like, eh. So we'll see how everyone else reacts to this. It's rumored because it's not official yet, but apparently Twitter has been blowing up and YouTube has been blowing up a bit because it sounds like Bloodborne will release on PC sometime in the future. And while that's been a reoccurring rumor for a while now, there's never been evidence and not much has changed really on that front. But Twitter Sloth Mom, that's right, Sloth Mom, claimed to have a conversation confirmed by a, quote, very trusted source. They added, I have a lot of faith in the company who's doing the port. You won't be disappointed. It's genuinely happening. This tied into also Wario64, who is, you may know on Twitter, that finds a lot of deals, added that you can, quote, play Bloodborne on PC with PlayStation Now or just wait a little longer, end quote. But then also kind of funny, host Imran Khan also followed up with saying, quote, not going to comment specifically on Bloodborne or PC rumors, but suffice to say, From Software fans probably have a lot of reasons to be happy in the next 2 years, end quote. And so it sounds like all of this is building up to the fact that not only are we going to get that Demon's Souls remake from Bluepoint, but that Bluepoint and Q-Lock, which also did the Dark Souls remastered port, have been working on Bloodborne as well. And supposedly, other rumors have stated it's going to run at 60 frames per second and 4K. Wow. And so that would be exciting because that's the kind of game that would really benefit from 60 frames per second.
I bet. Yeah.
Just because of the gameplay. And so I know you're not excited about that. I personally am. I'm just looking forward to playing Bloodborne again. If I can get another trophy list with Bloodborne, I'll do it.
At least you're honest, Robert.
Well, the nice part about this time, too, is I'd be better at it, I think.
Yeah.
Because I know the system. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Just wanted to talk about that. This next one, I think you sent to me, but I also saw myself. Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe has been fined $3.5 million Australian dollars after the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, the ACCC, charged the company with misleading PlayStation Store consumers. The Federal Court of Australia ordered the penalty for, quote, making false and misleading representations on its website and in dealings with Australian consumers about their Australian consumer law rights, end quote. This came from people who have bought and downloaded, quote unquote, faulty games from the PS4 digital storefront. That they were told a refund would not be issued after a digital game had been downloaded or if it had been 2 weeks since the date of purchase. And so that naturally does not fall in line with Australian law. It says consumer rights do not expire after a digital product has been downloaded and certainly do not disappear after 14 days or any other arbitrary date claimed by the game owner or developer. Now, I thought that was interesting because Steam allows you over here, right, if you've played a game for 2 hours or less to refund it. And I was wondering what you made of this because I didn't quite know what they meant by faulty games.
Yeah, I wonder what that means too, honestly. I mean, when you said that, I was just like, what classifies as a faulty game? Can you play an hour of it, not like it, and be like, well, this game was faulty? You know what I mean?
Right. What is faulty? Is it something where it has bugs? Because that's almost every game now.
Right.
You know, or are we going off of, you know, this idea that if games have game-breaking bugs or, you know, need patched, that they are faulty? And so, I mean, I actually personally think PlayStation is a little, I don't know if behind is the word I want to use, but I do think it would be nice for them to actually go ahead and be able to give us the opportunity to, if we play a game for 2 hours or less, kind of like Steam, and we don't like it, or we never even download it, to refund the game within a certain time period. I would personally like that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they have, you know, they have the most restrictions as far as refunding games when it comes to Sony. But I mean, I don't know, to a certain extent, I also get it.
I get it too. And I think Sony did install something. Didn't they recently have something where if it's within 14 days and you didn't download the game, you can actually refund it? Didn't they change that in their policy?
Might have, yeah.
Because I was thinking about that, and I think that is a change that Sony made within the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I do think that they haven't done enough in that regard. I would like to see them do a little bit more next gen in terms of being able to refund things for people.
Yeah.
Because I do think, I personally know I would like to have gotten a refund for Fallout 76, but I don't think that policy was enacted during that time. So
yeah.
A little hard to do that.
Here's the thing too, though, I will say, like, to what end, you know, does this happen, right? Because I mean, like, where does it stop? Where is the, like, defined? Yeah, where's the line as far as what qualifies or not if they don't set those guidelines? You know, and the other thing is, like, you know, anytime you go to an electronics store, if you've opened it, the likelihood of you being able to return it is slim to none.
Yeah.
Any electronics. So this falls in that category. So, like, you know, unless it's defective, which I don't know what, you know, unless it was like Fallout 76, which was pretty defective. Like, I just don't know exactly what they mean by, like, you know, corrupt
faulty?
or not working. Yeah, faulty.
Yeah, because most games work. It's just games might be broken in the sense that they're just terrible, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the developer didn't do well on gameplay or whatever. That's not necessarily faulty. It's just
right.
They didn't do a good job. And it's not a good game because of it. So yeah, where's the line?
I don't know. I'm really interested by that entire scenario, right? I have no idea what they meant by that. However, I was going to ask you as well, do you think this changes the landscape for other territories, other countries to follow up with stuff like this? Do you think we'll start seeing stuff like this in Canada, the United States, or, you know, Europe, where people start to question Sony's policies and take them to court for it and blah, blah, blah?
Maybe. There's a slight chance, but I don't know. That seems kind of weird.
It does. I think Sony just needs to maybe change their policy a little bit, and then maybe they won't have to worry about anybody taking them to court, right?
Yeah.
Just change it a little bit and,
right.
and you appease people. So we'll see what happens. I'll be very curious, I guess.
Indeed.
All right. So let's move on. Those playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare or its Battle Royale associated with Call of Duty Warzone this week may have noticed the message. They would be met with a Black Lives Matter screen this week as Activision and Infinity Ward pledged their voice to the movement. The splash appears during various load screens and is part of a wider push from the franchise to improve its community. Now, if you're like me and you do not have any of those Call of Duties, I'll read to you what pops up. It says, quote, the systemic inequalities our community experiences are once again center stage. Call of Duty and Infinity Ward stand for equality and inclusion. We stand against the racism and injustice of our Black community indoors. Racism and injustice our Black community indoors. Until change happens and Black Lives Matter, we will never truly be the community we strive to be, end quote. This comes, of course, after the developer announced initiatives to crack down on racism in its game. They did say there's, quote, no place for racist content in our game. This is an effort we begin with launch, and we need to do a better job. We're issuing thousands of bans of racist and hate-oriented names, but we know we have more to do, end quote. I found that kind of interesting because I can't tell you how many times I have played a game like that and heard certain words used over the microphone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well, are you going to cut down on that too? Because that's a little harder, I think, to police unless someone's reporting. But then how do you prove that? So I don't know. That would be interesting, but at least they're getting rid of the names or trying. I guess they're going to step it up. So we'll see what happens. All right, Matt, just a couple more pieces here for us. Number one, the official Twitter account for Kingdom of Amalur has confirmed a rumor that was floating around last week that a remaster is happening. The game was leaked on Microsoft's storefront, and it writes, quote, the rumors are true. Prepare for a re-reckoning because Kingdoms of Amalur, is it Amalur or Amalur? I always said Amalur, but it might be Amalur.
It looks like Amalur.
Yeah, it's coming back. Remaster with stunning visuals and refined gameplay. It's soon time to experience an epic RPG journey and all its DLCs like never before. Now, you might have remembered that the original Kingdom of Amalur, I'm going to say it that way, because it just sounds better, was actually released back on PlayStation.
Still saying it wrong, but okay.
Am I Amalur? I don't know.
You're saying the second vowel as a U.
It is U, isn't it?
Amalur.
Oh, Amalur. Whatever. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll get to the bottom of it. I'll look it up and see what somebody actually has said. Anyway, you might remember that it was developed by 38 Studios and Big Huge Games. It was a 2012 game that came out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And then, of course, that company went bankrupt and a bank owned it. And then in 2018, THQ Nordic, Matt, announced that they had purchased the series. And so people wondered what they were doing with it. And here we are 2 years later, and they are re-releasing it. So you never played it back in the day, did you?
No, I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was the one that 38 Studios, that Pete Rose owned the gaming company, and then they went bankrupt. And so they had to forfeit the game and it's the property and the studio and everything to the bank.
Wow, interesting. I feel like I remember that, but I don't remember the game.
Yeah, that was the game. So I'm excited because I never got around to it. I just didn't have time. It came out, I think, at a time where I was just too busy with life to really be able to enjoy something like that. So
understandable.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Are you interested in all checking it out? I can't even talk.
That's okay. You couldn't pronounce the name anyway, so.
I know.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it seems like it might be something cool if it's a remastered of it, with stunning visuals.
Yeah. It also, I thought was interesting. They said refined gameplay. And so it makes me wonder how much they're putting into it. Is this going to be one of those ones that we look back and we're like, whoa, they've kind of like Final Fantasy VII, right? Where they redid some of the game. They completely overhauled the gameplay in such a way that it's like a different game. So I'll probably check it out. It depends on when it comes out too, I guess. What else I'm playing, because I also have a child on the way. So I can't imagine that I'll want to.
Excuses.
Right. Get it sucked into a 100-hour RPG at this time, So we'll see what happens.
Especially when you have like Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima,
Yeah. Well, and also, depending on, you got PlayStation 5 around the corner.
Right.
You got Cyberpunk.
So many things, Robert. There's so many
too
things.
Too many
coming
things
down the pipeline.
Yeah, it's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Exactly.
And so we'll see. I'll probably not touch it, but we'll add it to that list that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. Bandai Namco also accidentally slipped up this week and released a game, or I shouldn't say a game, but trailer for a game. Project Cars 3 apparently is coming out. The PlayStation Europe YouTube channel was the only place the announcement trailer was initially uploaded, And that's because the team wanted to actually delay the reveal in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. But what happened was, and this is a quote from Bandai Namco, originally we had decided to delay this announcement to cede the floor to more important matters. Regrettably, the trailer for Project Cars 3 went live last night despite all our efforts of keeping it under wraps. So it sounds like somebody hit the publish ahead of time button and scheduled it and then forgot about that channel and was like, oops, too late. So he says, since the surprise is now gone, we're sharing the trailer with you. So Project Cars 3, I never played either one of those either, is apparently coming. Did you touch either one of those?
No.
Apparently they were really good. Project Cars 2, when it came out, was pretty highly rated. I think it was like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for most people. That one last released in 2017. So it's been about 3 years. And so I'm sure people are excited. They did say that they're going to take it in a new direction, but it still will remain a motorsport racing simulator. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Last but not least, and this will tie into we'll move from this topic into our conversational topic as well, because it'll tie in with delays. Actually, it doesn't tie in with delays at all, but I'm going to pretend it does. Sony has not delayed this month's additions to the PlayStation Now service. I don't know if you saw what U.S. subscribers are getting.
I just saw it.
Dishonored 2, Metro Exodus, and NASCAR Heat 4.
Yeah.
European subscribers are getting Tales of Zestiria, Pac-Man Championship Edition 2, God Eater 2 Rage Burst, 1111 Memories Retold, and Malicious Fallen, which I thought was a really good lineup too.
Yeah.
Metro Exodus will be available on PS Now until November 30th. The other ones are apparently permanent additions. Any thoughts on that now as a PS Now sub?
Yeah, with unpacking all my stuff, I was just looking at Dishonored 2 and being like, will I get to you ever? And then it'll be easier for me to get to, I guess, if it's right there on PlayStation Now.
It will, yeah. Well, yeah, it almost it's weird because even though it's on PlayStation Now, it kind of almost incentivizes you to go, well, let me go ahead and just play this since it's, you know what I mean?
Right.
You almost want to play it now more because when games appear on PlayStation Now, I'm like, oh, I own that game. Oh, I should have played that earlier. Why didn't I play that earlier? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe I'll go ahead and play that, even though, I'm not going to download from PlayStation Now. It's just, for whatever reason, it inspires you in some weird way to get into your backlog. So
I also think I would have to finish the first Dishonored before.
Oh, yeah, Dishonored's great, man.
I think it was
the second one's even better.
Where I, burnt myself out, played a bunch of it, and then I was just like, all right, I don't play anymore.
Yeah, it is a fantastic game. Definitely one worth checking out, I would say.
Oh, yeah, it's really good. I mean, I've really enjoyed it thus far. It's just that I think that, and maybe this had something to do with it, like the ways that you have to beat the game to get to platinum. It's just I don't want to do all that.
Oh, you mean the stealth or murderous route?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Maybe I just need to stop looking at trophies, Robert. I think that's what the problem is. If I stop looking at trophies, I'll stop overachieving in the games, and I'll just play the game for what it is, and I'll enjoy it and be done with it. I've
also, it's funny. I mean, we'll have to have a separate podcast topic on that sometime, but I've also kind of started to take a similar tact, believe it or not. I know that sounds shocking for somebody like me, considering how much I talk about being a trophy nut.
100%.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. I think those are good additions. Metro Exodus is actually, it's funny you say that about Dishonored 2 because Metro Exodus was on my backlog. Mm-hmm. I played it 4 or 5 different times, couldn't get into it. And so looking at it now, I'm like, and even though I love the other Metro games, so now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, maybe this is the time. Maybe I should dive into this. Now that it's on PS Now, maybe I don't have any excuse. And I really should just go ahead and get at it with it. So we'll see.
And who knows, Robert? Maybe I'll give NASCAR a try,
I actually, what's funny about that? You joke about that, but I, living in the South now, I feel like it's my duty to give it a shot. Even though I'm not a NASCAR fan. Although exactly. I think back on PlayStation 1 and 2, I did own a couple of NASCAR games because I just loved driving really fast and wrecking the vehicles going around the bends.
Yeah.
Like some sick man.
Right.
So, all right, cool. So let's talk about some delays here, and this will lead us into our topic, Matt. I don't know if you noticed, but EA Play's event that was scheduled for this week, I believe it was, also got delayed to June 18th. These are all because of the Black Lives Matter movement. Guerrilla Collective Indies Showcase got delayed June 13th through 15th. Future Games stream of gaming got delayed till June 13th. And then Night City for Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed till June 25th. And of course, PlayStation's big reveal event this past Thursday that we were going to record a podcast for with our reactions based on our predictions last episode also got delayed this week. They don't have a date yet, but they said very soon in an updated blog post.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I feel like out of what you just mentioned, PlayStation made the best move because June 13th, what if it's still going on?
Thank you for bringing that up. I was going to bring up the exact same thing. I was questioning.
It's been going on for a while so far, right? So what's another week doesn't seem improbable, right?
Correct. So, I would agree with that 100%. I was thinking the same thing staring at these dates. If this movement continues through next week or the week that you're listening to this podcast, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. The next time we record the podcast should be 2 of the 4. Or
yes.
2 of the, you know.
Yes. And so what happens if next Saturday we're still in the same position where this is front and center and
yes, clearly
the focus of our attention? Because I don't see this slowing down anytime soon. I think that this is
don't either.
Going to be a real change in American politics and American lifestyles, unless we all get corona because we're all not socially distancing anymore.
True.
And forces us back in. But I think PlayStation made the smart move going, well, actually, Cyberpunk, I thought, made a smart move too, because they put June 25th. And so they pushed it back 3 weeks. I thought that was really good. I think because this was originally around the 10th or something.
Yeah. But still, you never know. Are they going to have to push it back again? You know?
Sony did a wise, was very wise about doing this and very smart about how they handled this. But Sony also was very wise and smart about handling coronavirus. And I didn't include it in the news, but Sony also, just like they donated $100 million to COVID relief funds, right? And they left $100 million open for developers. Remember when they left that? They also are going to give $100 million to, I think, to the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't remember specifically. I just saw the news story on Twitter. Let me pull up my Twitter account so I'm not misspeaking here and sounding like a fool.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I sound like a fool as it is. I don't need...
Yeah, you couldn't even read anything earlier.
Sony Music Group announces $100 million to Global Social Justice Fund. So Sony Music Group today announces the launch of a $100 million fund to support social justice and anti-racist initiatives around the world. And so Sony is a company whole, right? PlayStation doing it for developers, the music part of Sony doing their own thing, is really aware of what they need to do to make sure that they show that they understand what's going on.
Yeah, I agree.
So I thought that was really fascinating and really cool to see. I thought that for you and I know people love to have escapism, but I think it's wrong. And I think it's our duty to not ignore what's going on in the world, simply like we talked about COVID so much. I felt like, again, we're not going to get political on here. I think that just treating people like human beings and treating each other well as a Christian speaks all I need to say about this. It's our rights and our duty to treat each other well and to treat each other right. I try to live that life. My life is an example of that. I know certainly my sister-in-law tries to keep that in mind too, and everything like that. So I don't want to ignore it in any sense. So I thought what we could do is in our own way, kind of pay homage to what's going on by talking about some of our favorite characters from video games that are Black. Because I haven't seen anybody talk about that.
The one thing I will say before we move completely into that is, without trying to get too political, I do get angry with people who, like one of the posts I saw was like, oh, Sony's just delaying this because they can, like they're not ready to reveal, blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, it's just a bad PR move for them to do this right now. One, yeah, of course it is. But two, don't try to detract from what is going on in the world because they're not announcing it. You know what I mean? Like, clearly there's issues going on in the world that are way bigger than the announcement trailer. Am I bummed that they pushed it back? Absolutely. I want to see the system. I want to know what's going on. I want to see games that are coming out for it. But clearly there are way more important things going on that need to be
addressed
and in front and center, as opposed to like, oh, the system that's coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I take offense to the people that are just like, oh, they're just doing it because it's good. It's better PR for them.
No, I don't think so.
No. Yeah. I call bullshit on that.
Let's try to address the injustices and the problems with the world.
Yeah.
And then we can all go back to living life with our video games, you know?
Exactly. But moving on.
So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. You know, we need to address, it's kind of like when you're in a relationship with someone, you need to fix yourself before you can be in a relationship with someone else.
Right.
And so let's fix the world a little bit first, fix America a little bit first, and then we can all enjoy our video games. Because after all, we've had plenty of time in quarantine to enjoy them.
Exactly.
Let's, one step at a time, guys, one step at a time.
Right.
All right. So anyway, that being said, let's go ahead, Matt, and highlight some of the... I was thinking a lot about this list today, and I asked for suggestions, and so I'm going to read off a couple of suggestions I got from some people as well, but I also want to highlight the ones I was able to come up with, and we can kind of talk about who some of our favorite characters are here. And so let me read off some of the suggestions I had first.
Sure.
First and foremost. And some of them will overlap with my own, so it's kind of, nice in that way. So Alex Vance from Half-Life 2, Lincoln Clay from Mafia 3, Miles Morales from Spider-Man. That's kind of a spoiler for Spider-Man a little bit, I think, but hopefully you've played it by now. Not really. No, I guess they showed sections with him in there, right?
Yeah.
And I actually think, piggybacking off of that, I think Spider-Man 2 will actually have you playing as Miles quite a bit. I think he's going to be a main character as well. And then on my Twitter, I also asked that same question, and I got Rodin from Bayonetta, which I actually had on my list as well, because he's awesome. And then Balrog as well. Balrog is from, I believe... Actually, I don't know what Balrog is from. I just saw that. Street Fighter, right? Yeah. He's a Street Fighter character. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he is. I just checked. Street Fighter. So I thought those were good suggestions. I myself, Matt, I was able to come up with a few.
Yeah.
Barrett from Final Fantasy VII. He makes me roll my eyes as I'm playing it, but I also really love him. Adam Hunter from Streets of Rage 4, as well as Streets of Rage 2. Right? We get to meet Adam. His daughter, Cherry, right? In the new game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is probably the one that stuck out with me. I know you didn't play the Telltale games, but Lee from The Walking Dead and Clementine.
Okay, yeah.
They made me bawl my eyes out at the end of season 1. Bangalore from Apex Legends. Daisy Fitzroy from BioShock Infinite. Jax and Jackie from Mortal Kombat. And I actually forgot his name. I have to look it up because I just blanked on it. Who is the main character in Watch Dogs 2? What is his name?
Ooh, I do not know.
You know who I'm talking about, though? I'm sorry, I have to look this up. But he's the only one I didn't write down his name, but it popped in.
Marcus Holloway.
That's it. I knew it began with an M. Yeah, Marcus. Also stuck out to me as well as another character. So anybody else that you can think of off the top of your head?
Like the two that came to mind was... I forget the character's name, but like the main character from San Andreas, from GTA San Andreas.
Okay. I don't think I ever played San Andreas, so.
Really? You never played San Andreas?
Yeah. Shame to admit that, but.
What was it, like Hot Coffee? Or what was the mini game?
I think that was Hot Coffee, yeah.
Yeah. Like GameStop wouldn't buy it back because of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I never touched that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I'm shocked.
CJ Johnson, I think is the name.
Yeah, I definitely never played that.
Carl CJ Johnson. And then Prototype was the other one. And I couldn't remember. I think it's Heller is his name.
Yes, I believe you're correct there.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it kind of made me sad because I was like, I couldn't really think of a lot of like legit main characters who weren't also like already celebrities. Like obviously like there's those 50 Cent games and 50 Cent is in that.
I was going to bring those up because I forgot about those. Shaq Fu.
Yeah, I thought about Shaq Fu. You know what I mean? Like, obviously there's like, Michael Jordan games, thinking about like athletes who have been on covers or have been prominently featured or have their own games. So yeah, I mean, there's that aspect of it too. But yeah, it was kind of sad, and like I couldn't really think of a lot of Black protagonists.
Yeah, it's not nearly as many, I'm sure, as we could rattle off otherwise. The other one that popped into my head was Nadine Ross from Uncharted. Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
Right, she's South African private military company leader. And so we cross her at some point, and she's certainly, I think, also actually one of the main stars of Lost Legacy, which is the DLC I never got to. Maybe I'll fire that up tonight. But there are not a lot of leading characters, but I think that's been addressed the last couple of years, because if you think about a lot of the games we have rattled off just now, several of them are from the last couple of years, right? They are very memorable characters, though. And some of them are simple, like, Jax has been around a long time in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah. Since 2, right?
I believe he first debuted in 2, yes.
Yeah.
And there are actually, I can't remember which one of the robot characters it is, too, that is also, I'd have to look, because they were revealed to be Black as well. So I'd have to look and see. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. I think it's Cyrax. Yeah, Cyrax is who I was thinking of as well.
Interesting.
And so sometimes characters we don't even know, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there was an alternate skin for him in one of the Mortal Kombats that revealed he was Black as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So, there's certainly not, overabundance, but there are certainly, I thought, some very notable ones. And I thought it was fair to bring those up because a lot of the ones I mentioned, they're memorable, right? They popped into my head immediately when I started trying to make my list today. I was excited to be able to list that many off just by a quick thought about it. And then, if you dive a little bit deeper, in Jedi Fallen Order, I can't think of that woman's name that helps you. I can't remember. Is it Cal, the main character?
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember it's Debbie Wilson that does the voice for it.
Yes, yeah. I can't remember her.
Everything.
Yeah, I can't remember any of those characters' names. I can't remember anybody but Cal, to be honest with you. But there's a fair shake, right?
Yeah.
Certainly not enough, but certainly a fair shake. And then you do get a lot of other characters or opportunities in for minorities in other. You get some other games that have it, like certainly AC Origins. I know I didn't play very much of that. And then there's a couple other games I'm sure I'm off the top of my head I can think of. Dishonored 2, the woman that helps you is also.
Oh yeah, and she got her own kind of spinoff.
Yeah, she got her own DLC that I never got around to. Yep. And so I've lost her name too, unfortunately. Probably because I didn't play the DLC and she wasn't nearly as prominent in the main game. Anything else you wanted to touch on with characters you could think of? There are plenty of Street Fighter characters too. I didn't bring up fighting game characters because, I know Mortal Kombat the best. I know Street Fighter has several. We mentioned one already.
Yeah.
I know that Tekken has a few. I know that. And I think actually fighting games have always done a better job of having an inclusive cast of characters and having a diverse set of characters probably than other video games have.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, fighting games always seem to have a good opportunity for that, to do that. But we'll have certainly more in the future. I have no doubt about that. So we'll see what happens.
Billy Lurk is her name in Dishonored.
Oh, that's right. Billy. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. All right. So let's, go ahead and carry on here. Just to our other brief topic, Matt, that I wanted to touch on. We have a new generation coming out. Last of Us is coming out very soon. You and I have extensive backlogs. We have the best intentions of getting to them, but I wanted to know if there were any games you could think of today that when I texted you and I said games you will never get to, that we wanted to give a shout out to, that we know we should play.
Yeah.
But that we will probably never get to, that are in our backlog.
Honestly, I already mentioned it. A Prototype 2. I know my roommate had it and he played it. I've watched him play it a couple of times and it looks like a really good game. And I'm kind of sad that I don't think I'll ever get to it. Maybe if they make a 3, there's rumors that, 3 is coming sometime in 2021. We'll see.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then the other one that really pops in my head, like I hear so many good things about, like the writing, like one of the best written games of all time. But I just never played it. Portal 2.
Oh, my heart is heavy for you. Yes.
Yeah.
That's such a great game.
Yeah.
And that's a short game. That's actually one you could knock out in an afternoon. It's like
Really?
6 to 8 hours. Yeah.
Really? All right.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll have to buy it then. But yeah, so yeah, that was like the two that really popped in my head. And then, seeing Dishonored 2 on PlayStation Now, I thought to myself, will I ever get to this one? But
Yeah.
we'll see. So yeah, I mean, it's a short list, but I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more games that I'm like, blanking on, but those are the ones that like really like stuck out in my head right away.
Yeah. I was going to say, if there's ones that jump out to me right away, the biggest one that jumps out to me is the Yakuza series.
Oh,
I played about 15 hours of Yakuza 0 and I loved it. And then I was like, oh, I can't wait to play through all of these. I'll never do that.
Right.
There's 7 of them. I will never do that. Even if all 7 of them were on PlayStation 4, I will never get there because each one is like a 30 to 40 hour time sink. I don't have the time. So that's the biggest one that jumps into my head. And then there are smaller ones. I've got a lot of indie titles like Rainbow Moon, The Sexy Brutale. And those are short games too. Like maybe not Rainbow Moon, but Sexy Brutale is like 5 hours, I think. I never got to Jack and Daxter. I never played a Jack and Daxter game.
Oh yeah.
And so that will probably, is sitting on my dashboard. I will never get to it. Cosmic Star Heroine, Lords of the Fallen, The Surge or The Surge 2. I will probably never get, now I don't own Surge 2, but I just know I'll never get to it. And then probably the other big one other than Yakuza is I will probably never get to either one of the new Hitman games. I loved Hitman as a kid. I was so excited when they brought Hitman back and I'll never get to it again. And so those are ones that jump out to me right away that kind of disappoint me that I'll never get to them because I'm usually really good about trying at least some of those games, even if I don't finish them. But I know that some of them I'll never fire up. And so, something like The Vanishing of Ethan Carter will just sit on my dashboard forever, right?
Yeah.
And I'll look at it and go, I know this is a brilliant game. Or like Tales of Berseria. I know this is a brilliant game, but I'll never get to it. It's just a fantasy. That's okay, though, I guess. Right?
I guess, yeah.
I own plenty of books I haven't read yet. So I guess we'll see someday. Maybe when I'm retired and I'm old. All right, Matt. I just wanted to mention a few games there because I also got inspired by this list, not just by looking at my list this week and looking at like the Black Protagonist and thinking about Uncharted Lost Legacy and how I should play that, but I've never gotten to it. Will I ever get to it? Da, 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 da. But also because I found the PlayStation blog games coming out this week, and there's a sequel coming out to a game that I started and I will never finish that I think we should acknowledge coming out this week. All right. So, Matt, this is going to be interesting. We're going to do See You Soon, just as we always do. But I want to talk about See You Soon for a minute because...
Literally, because that's all it's going to take.
Yeah. The PlayStation blog said, following the recent unification of the US and European PlayStation blog, you might notice things look a bit different around these parts. We're still working on our new process as we combine new releases for the North America and EU regions into a more robust multi-region megapost. And so they even go to say about the new games coming out this week, in the coming months, you may notice the occasional discrepancy in this post as we're updating the back-end systems we pull game info from to populate our list. Game release dates should be correct at time of publication, but we'll strive to correct any mistakes as they arise. Thanks for your patience. Now, here's what hurts. Here's what hurts my little heart.
Yep.
There are no longer pictures and there are no longer descriptions.
Yeah. Honestly, Robert, had you told me this earlier, I would have tried to make fake descriptions for all of these games.
Well, had I looked at it earlier, I would have told you that we would do this. And so from now on, you and I are going to pick at least one game each week.
Yeah.
And we're going to craft our own description.
Yeah.
Out of this
Knowing
list.
nothing about the game.
Knowing nothing about the game.
Yeah. Agreed.
I will speak to a couple of things this week. So here's how I thought we could do this. There are 19 games I thought I could read. Do you still want to go every other one? Or do you want to just read half and half?
I just want to read one game, and I think you know which one it is.
I know it is, yeah. So let's go ahead. How about this? I'll do 3, you do 3.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Since there's no descriptions.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to start because I want to talk about the second game on this list. So the first game coming out this week, out June 11th, is Beyond Blue. The second game coming out this week is Demon's Tier Plus for PS4, PS Vita. It's out June 9th. I can probably speak about this now. I play tested this game for several hours. I helped work on bug fixes and
nice.
Yeah, so this is the game. I might have mentioned it several podcast episodes back that I was play testing. This is the game that I was play testing for on my PC, just going through, running through it. I'm beating it 2 or 3 times, even with cheat codes, without cheat codes, just to look for bugs and issues and give feedback to the developer. And so if you liked Riddle Corpses, if you liked Xenon Valkyrie Plus, this is that same dev/publisher. I highly recommend it. It's a great dungeon crawling game. And so that's part of my pick for this week. And then the third one coming out this week is Depth of Extinction, also out on June 11th.
All right. Up next, the only one I really care about reading, Epic Dumpster Bear 2. Oh, it was so good. They had to make a sequel. Oh, good Lord. If I remember the description correctly, some scientist experimented on something and now he's mad. They're ruining his habitat, so he's taking action. So clearly he still has actions to take.
Absolutely.
Because they made a second one. All right, then Evans Remains, PS4, out June 11th, US and Canada only. And then Fault Milestone 1, unfortunately, EU only, out June 9th.
Yeah, so for our EU friends.
Mm-hmm.
Fire Chief is coming out to PS4 in US and Canada only. By the way, the first 5 we read were only US and Canada only. Firefighters Airport Heroes is out June 10th, I guess everywhere. And then Jump King is also coming out June 9th, out everywhere.
Nice. All right. Let's Create Pottery VR. Sounds like right up your alley. June 12th in US and Canada, and June 9th. Europe gets it a little bit earlier. June 9th in the EU. Then we got Pity Pit. That's correct. Pity Pit. P-I-T-Y-P-I-T. Out June 9th, US and Canada. And then 10th in the EU. And then Project Warlock. Out June 9th, I'm assuming everywhere.
Yeah. Pushy and Pulley in Blockland is out June 9th in the EU only. Rooftop Runner is out June 11th in the US only. And then Super Soccer Blast is out June 12th, US and Canada only, June 11th in the EU.
Ooh,
so that's weird that they said only.
Right. Yeah.
They're really fouling this up here. Goodness.
Yeah. We really are pardoning their dust. And then we got Warborn PS4 out June 12th. Yoga Master out June 9th, EU only. YS Memories of Calcutta,
I think.
Calcutta,
CELCETA,
yeah. Out 9th in US and Canada only. And I'll just finish the last one. Zakaria Pinball, out June 12th, US and Canada only. So that's the See You Soon.
That is
very short. Very sad that there's no descriptions or pictures because we love reading these descriptions. So 2 weeks in a row now, we've been disappointed.
I think what we may have to do, and I'll poll the people on this. We'll take a week off, come back the following week, and I'll pull the descriptions myself. We'll see. I'm going to think about that over the next week.
Yeah.
Because that's really upsetting. I like reading the games, and the week this podcast comes out, you know what games are coming out as well. But it is super, super disappointing that we have no descriptions, no pictures, and it sounds like it's going to be like this for months.
Ugh, gross.
And I want to point out that we are also not the only ones unhappy about this. The comments section on the blog is brutal.
As it should be, Robert. As it should be.
One person wrote, "Why even bother if this is the best you can do?"
This is confusing as the top comment on mine.
Yeah. Oh, I'm scrolling down through. I'm much deeper than you are.
Yeah. Oh,
someone's blaming Jim Ryan for destroying the blog. So apparently you want us to get our info on this from other sites that do show a description. Okay, we will. Goodbye. I mean, they are working on it, so it sounds like we'll probably get it back. And so in the meantime, I'll see what we can do to maybe make it a little bit better.
Yeah, but with everything going on, like protests and pandemics, like why change this now? Why change the format now?
Because they're merging the EU and because they want one unified Sony going into PlayStation 5. EU and America. So who knows?
All right.
We'll figure it out.
Is that it for us, Robert?
That is it for Pitt, my friends. I thank you for hanging out with me today. Thanks for everyone listening. We're right on time as always. Remember, you can find us on patreon.com/weare1ur2, over on Spotify, YouTube, podcast, wherever you get your, Pocket Cast. I'm sorry. Yeah, Pocket Cast, wherever you get your podcasts every week. Castbox. Leave us nice reviews. We appreciate it. It's how we get found. It's how we get heard. Share with your friends. Go back and listen to last week's episode if you missed it. We gave away some codes for Chase. He is a video game composer who was gracious enough to give us a couple of codes. I don't know if they've been redeemed yet or not. I have not checked, but go back and listen to it. Fantastic stuff. Really good music. I've been listening to his stuff off and on throughout the last 2 weeks. So go check him out as well. And until next week, I guess just continue to game on.
Game